These days, if an upcoming or newly released game piques my interest, the first place I usually turn is the internet. Gameplay videos, articles, and reviews are available for just about any game out there, greatly reducing the need for the more traditional methods of getting information on games. But before the widespread use of the internet, magazine articles and reviews, promotional videotapes, playable demos, and word of mouth were some of the most important forms of promotion for video games. In many ways, these simply evolved to fit the mold of the modern internet, including the playable demo. Many developers create playable demos and make them available as a free download on online storefronts, giving potential customers a small portion of the game to try. As a consumer, demos allow you to try games, sometimes games that don't initially grab your interest, and see if they're for you without risking paying full price for a game you don't enjoy. Personally, there have been plenty of times that a game has led me to purchase a full game. And having the ability to actually play the game made all the difference in my decision. Gameplay videos and reviews are a great way to get a general understanding of how a game works, but for me there's nothing like having the opportunity to play the game myself. The benefit for companies is obvious. Demos can net them customers they may not otherwise have. Demos largely find their roots in the shareware distribution of early computer software. Shareware is software that is free to obtain and distribute, be it through physical or digital media. There was a downside to shareware, however. In nearly every case, the software was limited in some way. Usually, this was through removing features or only providing a portion of the software for use. This was, of course, meant to entice the user to purchase the complete version of the software. Computer games were a very popular type of software to be distributed under the shareware model, and did help get the word out for plenty of games. One company that was especially well known for their shareware games on Microsoft's early operating system MS-DOS was id Software. Most of their early, incredibly popular franchises, such as Commander Keen, Wolfenstein, Doom, and Quake, had shareware versions available, most of these giving players a generous portion of the game. Shareware versions of games proved to be fantastic tools for advertising, naturally leading to playable demos on consoles. But how well did they make the jump? Today, we'll be taking a look at two demo compilation discs for one console in particular, the PlayStation. The Sony PlayStation was a mid-90s powerhouse. It utilized the relatively new CD-ROM, 3D technology, and was a host to a wide variety of games, entering the market as the biggest threat to home console leaders Nintendo and Sega. With the massive storage space of the CD-ROM compared to the cartridge technology of the time, PlayStation was the perfect platform for demo compilations, and there were a ton of them. For this video, I thought it might be fun to cover two of them that I had from a very young age. So, let's get started. The first demo disc we'll be looking at is called Interactive CD Sampler Disc Volume 7. It was part of a series of demo discs bundled with the PlayStation. Which disc you receive depends on when you purchase your console. This one was included with the console in August of 1998, with 10 playable demos and 6 promo videos. There's quite a bit to unpack here. Obviously, if we went too in-depth with each demo and video, we would be here for a while, so let's just do a quick overview of them. First up, we have Blasto, an interesting blend of third-person shooter and 3D platformer, perhaps most notable for featuring the voice talents of Phil Hartman. It's a really neat concept and I love the art style, but it definitely isn't the easiest game to play. Einhander is a futuristic 2.5D shooter with a cyberpunk theme developed by Square. This game has some really solid mechanics, and the atmosphere is dark, moody, and very unique for this style of shooter. I've wanted to try the full game for years now. Hopefully I get around to it sooner rather than later. Gex Enter the Gecko is a 3D platformer in the Gex series. Like most games in the series, it has a really goofy sense of humor and takes absolutely nothing seriously. It's a lot of fun and a pretty decent platformer at that. Gran Turismo is a racing game that kicked off Polyphony Digital's long-lived, beloved series. The demo is pretty limited, but it's visually impressive and plays well. This certainly would have convinced me to give the full game a whirl. Hot Shots Golf, known as Everybody's Golf, everywhere but the US, is a golfing game developed by Camelot, you might recognize as the developers of Mario Golf. In fact, there are so many elements of this game that are very reminiscent of Mario Golf. Being released 2 years before that game, I think we can look to Hot Shots Golf as laying the groundwork for that series. That is to say, it's very good. It also started a series that continues to this day, with the last Everybody's Golf game being released on the PS4 in 2017. Jersey Devil is a 3D platformer with a cartoony horror theme. It's a decent enough platformer, but its real charm lies in its atmosphere. This would be a great game to play on Halloween. Tekken 3 is a fighting game in the ongoing Tekken series. This demo is pretty limited, with only 2 playable characters, but the game itself is very solid. Just satisfying, well-crafted gameplay with some impressively detailed visuals. Good stuff. Tomba is a 2.5D platformer developed by Whoopee Camp, part of a short-lived series of 2, and one of my favorite games on the PlayStation. It's a light-hearted, charming little game, and one that, in my opinion, has aged really well. Playing this demo as a kid is what led me to track down the full game years later, and my PS1 experience has been all the better for it. Tomb Raider 2 is next up. The second title in the legendary Tomb Raider series, this game doesn't need much of an introduction. The demo includes a section from early on in the game, which does give time to introduce some of the improvements from the previous game. Finally, we have NBA Shootout 98. I haven't spent much time with sports games, so I can't really give an informed opinion on this game, but based on my limited experience, it seems to be a pretty typical basketball game of average quality. The demo offers just enough to give you an idea of how the game plays. This disc also features short promo videos for Resident Evil 2, Spyro the Dragon, NFL Extreme, Metal Gear Solid, MLB 99, and the PlayStation Underground magazine. All of these are pretty typical game trailers, but the PlayStation Underground ad is a little bizarre and features some very 90s CGI. Take a look. On that note, let's move on to the next disc. Here we have a Pizza Hut promo disc from late 1999. I haven't been able to find much detailed information on the disc, but judging from the intro and some stuff I've been able to dig up online, this was the second disc of a pair and had the potential to win you $500,000 if you had a winning disc. Unfortunately, mine was not a winner. A shame, I know. There aren't nearly as many demos on this disc, only containing 4 playable demos and 1 promo video. Let's take a look at each. First up, we have the next Tetris. This demo focuses only on the title's slight twist on the classic Tetris formula, with blocks composed of different colors. Separate colors break apart upon landing, while blocks of the same color stick together. It's an interesting variation, and it makes sense that the demo would only offer this mode. Of course, the final game does offer a classic mode without these variations. Spyro 2's demo is the one I remember playing most, and if you're at all familiar with Insomniac's classic 3D platformers, I'm sure you know why. This demo features 2 levels from the final game, Sunny Beach and Skedlos Badlands. These 2 levels feature completely different environments and show off 2 new features, spitting and swimming, giving players a good idea of what they could expect in the final game. Gran Turismo 2 is the sequel to Gran Turismo, and just from the demo, the improvements are obvious. Gran Turismo's already impressive visuals were given a boost in quality, the game's controls feel even better, and this demo features a daytime course, as opposed to the previous game's demo only including a nighttime course. Finally, we have Sledstorm, a racing game featuring, you guessed it, snowmobiles. Seeing a somewhat non-traditional racing game is always a treat, and Sledstorm's gameplay is pretty unique, pitting players against much more challenging terrain than most racing games of the time period offered. This demo features 2 playable characters and 1 course, which is plenty enough to get players used to racing in snowy, treacherous environments. Somewhat disappointingly, Tomb Raider: The Last Revelation is only featured as a trailer, making it the sole promo video on this demo disc. Demos are certainly still alive and kicking, but compilation discs like these seem to be a thing of the past. With that said, they're a lot of fun to look back on and revisit. It might even convince you to pick up a game from years past that you've never played or overlooked. But that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.